The search for a unique art style has most learning artists in a chokehold. And I don't say that out of judgment because I'm including myself in that, at least my past self. Because when I first started learning stylized art, I was super fixated on finding my style. But I want to talk about why I don't think you actually need to find your art style. There are a few reasons I think artists get really caught up on this. I think the most obvious one that you're probably thinking is like, yeah, it's obviously like cool to have a cool art style. Like, who wouldn't want that? But that's obviously like way too surface level. I think that the two main reasons are, one, you want what having a art style entails, which is like being a really skilled and confident artist who has established an artistic identity for themselves. And two, having a distinct and consistent art style makes your art more marketable, especially on social media. It kind of gives you a leg up, which I actually have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to get into that in a bit. So here's why I think those reasons are fundamentally flawed. The first reason, basically wanting to be a super skilled artist as quickly as possible, obviously that's not something you can shortcut. It's a natural product of time and dedication to your craft. And it can actually stunt your artistic growth to prematurely pick an art style and kind of like put yourself in a box. Like when you start out learning art, you're starting really broad. And then as you get better, your focus narrows into your specific niche. But when you start out really narrow, it's like, where are you going to go from there? You can't grow. And then in that instance, it's like you can't even really find your actual art style because you're not experimenting at all. You can't find what you like. And I just think that's like a really good way to slow down your progress and make yourself lose confidence in your own art. Now, for the other reason, the social media one, it's definitely true that artists who have a style have a leg up on social media. But keep in mind that those artists also tend to be artists who are very skilled and, you know, at a more professional level. So that plays into their success too. But with the way that social media is these days, I can't speak for Twitter or TikTok because I don't use them, but Instagram at least, a 6-second video of someone literally sketching a leaf will do better than like a whole detailed illustration. Because that's just like how the algorithm because that's just like how the algorithm works now. So style doesn't really play as big of a role in success now as it did pre-Reels. And I can speak from experience. When I first started posting on Instagram, I wasn't very good, like at all. I was very new to digital art and stylized art, and my photo posts, like my illustrations, didn't do well at all. Like 7 likes was good for me. But when I started posting process reels of me like sketching or just shading, my account really started taking off, like pretty much immediately. And that was still without a style and without being very skilled at all. And another thing, kind of along the same lines as that, is if you do get a following based on your style, it can be kind of a double-edged sword because, I don't know if that's the right term, but it can be negative because you can get really anxious about your art style changing, which like really takes a lot of the fun out of art. Like you should never be afraid of your own growth. But I can understand it at the same time because it's like, yeah, the fear of people losing interest in your art, and especially if you're trying to make an art career through social media, that's really scary. But if social media is making you feel anxious and like you can't grow in your art, I think it's definitely time to take a step back and kind of reevaluate some things. Now, in terms of marketability in general, regardless of social media, like just trying to sell your art, you aren't likely to find major success until you reach a certain skill level. And that skill level does happen to align with the point where artists usually start to fall into a specific style. But if you just try to force a style before you're at that level, it doesn't automatically make your chances of success as high as an artist at a higher skill level. Like, does that make sense? It's like if you haven't learned all the fundamentals of cooking, but you decide you want to make your own unique recipes, you're not going to be treated like the next Julia Child. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm really bad at analogies and metaphors, but hopefully you get what I mean. But it's not so much that looking for your art style at all is always bad. If you're doing it by trying a lot of different styles and experimenting a lot, then I think that that can be positive. It's more that if you're like super overly concerned with finding one quickly and you prematurely put yourself in a box, there's not really anything positive that's going to come out of that. But hey, if you're a beginner artist and you really love drawing one specific style and you haven't experienced anything negative from it, then like go for it. Don't let me stop you. This is more aimed at artists who are genuinely distressed over this, because it's really sad to see people feeling anxious over their art when art should be something that is fun and fulfilling. Personally, I obviously have somewhat of a style, but I'm still learning and I'm nowhere near like master skill level, so my style changes constantly. But as I learn more and get more confident in my artistic identity, my art is gonna change, and I've accepted that with my own art, so it doesn't really bother me. But there was a point where I was kind of really frustrated by how it felt like my art was just like every other week, it's like I have a completely different style. But I really think that that's not a bad thing, especially if you don't have a solid grasp on all the fundamentals of art yet. Like, it's very natural for that to happen. Anyway, I don't really know how to end this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you got something out of my ramblings.